watching from afar. I can't go home because I'm afraid something will change. Me without me, I'm the one to blame. I moved on by my own will. I had nothing else I wanted to do. Was it hard? But I didn't hate it. I did not even like it. I've been patient, but it was bearable. I've had the gray haze for a long time though. I never found out what it was. It's my stress, that's for sure. I never wanted to run away. I was very motivated. Then what is this feeling? Who would I ask? I've been patient, but it was bearable. I've had the gray haze for a long time though. I never found out what it was. I taste like vegetables I don't like. The town inside me and everyone's voice. Only I'm not there, just watching from afar. I can go home, cause I'm afraid something will change. Me without me, I'm the one to blame. I'm not waiting for Santa Claus. I already have the gift, just can't open the box. I know all about it, no one can solve it unless I decide to do something about it. It's not even a case. I've been patient, but it was bearable. I've had the gray haze for a long time though. I never found out what it was. I hate the alarm clock I chose. The town inside me and everyone's voice. Only I'm not there, just watching from afar. I can go home because I'm afraid something will change. Me without me, I'm the one to everyone's voice. Only I'm not there, just watching from afar. I can't go home because I'm afraid something will change.
Hello.
Seriously, are you okay, Orange?
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Hello.
I'm fine.
I'll tell you right now about my condition. I'm surviving off the mercy of this caffeinated water.
Are you okay, Orange? I
He's
saw
drinking?
you playing Destiny 2 earlier.
That explains it.
It is triple blade. It is triple berry.
Experience, yes.
I'm eating a. Never mind.
What,
A
are you
dick?
eating that bean sandwich again?
No,
Alright,
I was
alright.
eating a
Joshy,
cookie.
Joshy, shut up and get back in there.
What?
Shut up.
Shut up.
Randy, you don't want his to fill his Destiny 2 addiction. My mod friends are already on
Well,
that
we're not
again.
talking about Destiny 2 anymore. We're talking about the house in Fata Morgana.
Woo!
A delightful
A much more
story
pleasant
where
experience.
nothing bad ever happens.
Never. Ever.
Yeah.
Yay, depression time. Exactly.
feel
Speaking
bad.
of which,
Woo!
let's talk about being enslaved in the mansion. Give me 1 minute to put the voice on the audio. Oh man. Let me just go ahead and preload that because it was about to blow out our fucking eardrums.
Just making sure is my audio okay?
You sound perfectly fine, babe.
Alright, let's get into it. Several hundred years after I was enslaved within the mansion, something changed for the very first time. Sunlight, which I had not seen in all that time, shone in from outside. At first, I did not believe it was real. I thought it was a hallucination born from my inner desires. And I thought I must have completely lost it for my fantasies to have escaped my mind. But it didn't matter if it was an illusion. God damn it, be right back, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So who was the composer of this?
There's a collection of different composers. In fact, actually, here, let me look it up. I believe Gao did a couple songs. Oh, hold on. So the composers are Melak N, Gao, Yusuke Tsutsumi, Takaki Moriya, and Aikawa Razuna.
I have not heard of these people.
Yes, there's no Mzaki in this one, I'm afraid.
God damn it.
I'm very fond of Gao because he did a lot of my favorite tracks, most specifically Fabula Escrita. That's my favorite track in the game.
Are you aware of what other things these people have done?
Not at all, no.
God damn.
Mostly because none of them really link back to anything else on the wiki page.
Hello, I'm back.
Hello.
Okay.
Welcome back.
But it didn't matter if it was all an illusion. The gentle breeze blowing in through the window felt wonderful. The smell of the grass, the chirping of the birds, the glistening blue sky. It was like 1,000 memories rushing back all at once. And it brought tears to my eyes.
Con.
She said she'll be okay. Might need a supplement.
Rindy?
Okay. The time has come, Giselle. It's time for you to get to work.
And, as she always did, the witch's voice crushed my elation, dragging me back to reality. Reveling in the sight of the outside was the last thing I should have been doing. For it was that moment that began my true decline. Work? What kind of work?
Have you already forgotten? Oh, good heavens. Do you have your head on straight, my dear? As I said, I need you to watch over the house. And show your utmost hospitality to those who show up.
Is someone...
It's merely an appetizer. It looks like someone's here.
Hold on, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do.
Do the same thing you have been doing. Be a maid. Convince the house's guests that this is a wonderful place. Make them enjoy their stay. Now go on. I'm quite looking forward to this.
The bar has been removed. But will the door open? For so long, the door had refused to budge. For so long, light had forsaken these halls. For so long, there had been no trace of life. And now, all that has been turned on its head. I felt like I had stepped into heaven on earth. I know it sounds melodramatic, so please don't laugh. It was almost certainly a perfectly ordinary slice of nature. Leaves and grass rustle in the wind, flowers speckled on the earth. And in the distance was the city, or was a city I didn't recognize. I wondered where I was, of course, but neither shouted nor jumped in surprise. Instead, I found myself accepting of my circumstances, as unnatural as they might have been. As I was standing there idly before the entrance, a carriage rolled up.
Could this road be any worse? Isn't dire need of paving on top of everything else? Who may you be, young lady? That outfit.
He is speaking a different language. The middle-aged man approached me. From his attire and the way he held himself, he appeared to be upper class. However, the words coming out of his mouth were not in the language I had grown up speaking. Could the mansion have moved somewhere far, far away? Naturally, I had no idea how such a thing was possible. And the longer I stood there staring at him absent-mindedly, the more incredulous he became. My immediate mission was to overcome the language barrier. Fortunately, I suppose I was able to understand bits and pieces of what he had said. As merchants in the capital, my family did business with people from other countries, and as a result, I had learned a handful of words. The problem was, it had been so long ago, I had no confidence whatsoever in my ability to hold a conversation. I am a servant.
Servant? Can't say I remember asking for a lady servant, but I suppose these things do happen. Doesn't much matter who they sent.
Who are you?
You weren't informed. Bloody hell, off to a great start, I see. Well, what can you do, I guess? Name's Hayden Road. Just a retired old man.
As I'm sure you've already guessed, this man was the Rhodes siblings' grandfather. He was also the first person I served under as the maid. For a member of an esteemed noble family, Hayden was a bit on the eccentric side. He only hired a handful of servants, claiming he was not fond of clamor. There was a single chef, a physician, a servant to take care of all of the cleaning, and then me, who served as his...
Like once. Oh, here we go. Faster this time, wow.
who served as his personal assistant. Whenever he got the chance, Hayden would chase me down and make me practice proper etiquette. According to him, I had much to learn.
He's technically a servant of the Rhodes family, young lady. So I can't have you going around playing the country bumpkin act.
Yes, sir.
We'll have to do something about that accent too, while we're at it.
I have an accent.
Stuck on them bloody molasses. Now I have no interest in sticking my nose into your business asking where you hail from. But while you're here, you must act the part, young lady. Lucky for you, I'm retired and have all the time in the world. I'll teach you everything you need to know about proper etiquette.
All right.
Wake up, will you?
Yes, sir. Hayden did not go easy on me either. In addition to my day-to-day duties, I studied etiquette, the language, proper pronunciation, and formal diction. Anytime I made the slightest mistake, he would shout his dissatisfaction.
Listen carefully. A servant is the face of the house. A servant's gaff is her master's gaff. Always keep in mind, you're not just a maid. You must act with elegance and grace. You must always maintain your composure even if the house is falling down around you. Whatever happens, you deal with it quickly and quietly. Your language must be immaculate. No ums or oohs or pauses. For any reason.
Yes, sir.
No stammering either.
Sorry.
Bloody hell, you're not going to make this easy, are you? Whose idea was it in that country that a country bumpkin would make a good servant? I'd like to give them a piece of my mind.
I'm not from the country. Not even slightly. I was raised in the capital.
Is that so, eh? A prim and proper city girl, are you? In that case, you should be a quick study.
Absolutely. I can learn anything in a week tops. Piece of cake.
Is that so? Right then, starting tomorrow, I'm tripling your lesson.
I didn't think this through. In addition to being my master, Hayden was my teacher. When he yelled, he grew twice his size, and I shrunk to half mine. But it wasn't at all an unpleasant experience. Because I knew he wasn't raising his voice to belittle me. His instruction may have been harsh, but it was human interaction. And there were people around that I could talk to, and that was wonderful. I was starting to regain some of my humanity.
Believe me, you still got a long life ahead of you, young lady. I don't know what kind of life you've lived, but I cannot imagine it's been all that easy. Not many maids servant girl your age without... Wait, that... Not many servant girls your age without a home to go back to. Which is why you need to learn this. Once you've gotten all the rules and customs down, you'll be able to hold your own at any noble estate. You shouldn't have any trouble keeping yourself employed. I'm sure you think I'm just a loud, obnoxious old man, but I believe we met for a reason. So I hope you stick with me.
I, don't think about you like that at all, Master. You're a remarkable man.
One more time.
I deeply appreciate your generous consideration, Master, from the bottom of my heart. I didn't know much about Hayden's situation, why he had retired to this mansion all alone, away from the rest of his family. But anytime I asked about them, he would say,
It happens sometimes.
With a melancholic frown. Before long, 2 years had passed. By that point, my etiquette had improved enough to satisfy his highest standards. In that time, the mansion underwent a number of decor changes as Hayden brought in sculptors to work on different areas of the house. He also sealed off rooms that were not in use, such as the observation tower and the chapel. It was a sad thing seeing areas with so many memories for me falling into disuse. But as a mere servant, I had no say in the matter. In addition, Hayden seemed to greatly enjoy renovating the house, so I watched him warmly. And the furniture was all gradually replaced. Gorgeous paintings hung on the walls, colorfully patterned curtains installed. And a brilliant rose garden planted.
These roses came from all across the world. Nowhere else can you see so many different varieties in one place.
It's beautiful. Did you know that in the city, people are starting to call the mansion Rose Manor?
Rose Manor.
And to think there used to be nothing but weeds here. Amazing how much of it has changed. I never thought I'd see this garden turned into something so beautiful.
Are you fond of roses, young lady?
Yes, red ones especially. Red roses mean a great deal to me. They remind me of a time long past.
Given one as a gift, were you?
No, I believe I was the one who gave the rose. So red roses are a symbol of my feelings. And they're very precious to me. I gave you a rose as a gift. You plucked it from its stem and placed it in my hair. Am I remembering correctly? My memories are so vague now. I can't even remember the look on your face that day.
There are some kids I like to give roses to myself.
Who?
My grandchildren.
Oh my, you have grandchildren?
Though we haven't been in touch for some time. Last I saw them was 40 years ago. When the second grandchildren was born. The sweetest girl in the world, with her lovely flaxen hair. She's going to be a real beauty when she grows up. Anyway, they're wonderful kids. And one day, I want to hand this garden over to them. Each and every rose containing my hope that they'll lead comfortable, healthy lives, free of strife.
I'm sure your wish will come to pass. Your grandchildren will have wonderful lives.
I...
And the grief of not having you around still weighed heavily on my mind. But I was slowly approaching contentedness. Life with Hayden was slow and uneventful, peaceful and relaxing. I imagined my heart was seeking anything to alleviate its pain. And found that in the beautifully remodeled mansion, the garden blooming wildly with roses, and my time with Hayden. I was even beginning to think this life was enough for me. That I would be okay with this being the end, if it meant more of the tranquility I felt. I was, like a coward, considering giving up the fight. Please do forgive me for ever considering such a thing. He didn't seem to be in high spirits that day. A gift had apparently arrived from his son, who lived far away. In it was a tea set, some leaves, and a small jar of sugar.
Miss!
How can I be of service, master?
Bring me up a pot of this, would you? Be careful not to steep it for too long. You want to get it just right for the best flavor.
As you wish, master. You seem quite pleased.
Why would I be? A boy who's shunned his old man for years sends him a paltry gift on a whim. I'm just entertaining his fancy.
Your tea is ready, master.
Oh, what a wonderful smell. Tea and roses are life's best damn spices. Now let's see what that boy chose for me. If it's no good, I'll be sure to write him an angry letter.
He looks so happy. He must really love his family.
It's a little bitter.
Shall I brew another pot?
No, it's not your fault. Must be something in the leaves.
Would you like to add some sugar then? And there was a small jar of it with the tea set.
Now that's some bloody fine sugar he's procured. White as snow and sparkles in the light.
He chose it just for you, master.
Bloody hell, what demon possessed him? Alright, give me 2 spoons then.
Yes, Master. Here you are.
Splendid. This is some exquisite tea. The sugar balances the bitterness of the leaves perfectly. I guess that boy does have some.
Master? Master! Master! The doctor! I need to find the doctor! Water, I'll get you some water right away. So please hang in there. Thanks to the quick treatment provided by his personal physician, Hayden survived. But he didn't make it out with much more than his life. He was permanently bedridden by the affair. Evidently, the sugar I had put in his tea had contained poison. Which had done irreparable damage to his nerves and muscles. Most of his body was completely immobile, except for his left arm. Can I bring you something? Some water?
I've had more than my fill of water. You don't need to wait on me hand and foot. Everybody says you need to distract yourself by working. Remember what I told you. A noble family's servants must always act with elegance and grace. You must always maintain your composure.
But how can you expect me to remain composed? If I'd only examined the sugar more thoroughly.
You never would have noticed, young lady. I examined the sugar and didn't see a bloody thing wrong with it. He was damn crafty, that's for sure.
Why would he do this?
His inheritance, I presume. Something must have come up and he needed money quickly.
That's no reason to poison your own father.
Blood is nothing but an obstacle to ambition. Or maybe he just hated me.
How could anyone possibly hate you?
Perhaps that could be said of me. I never said that. Perhaps that could be said of the me you know. But when you live as long as I have, you're bound to make an enemy or two. Mine just happens to be my son. I was planning to give him everything anyway. He didn't actually have to do this. It all would have been his.
Master,
Killing me doesn't accomplish anything. But I guess it doesn't much matter. Say, could I ask you something, young lady?
what can I do for you?
I don't want to get out that Hayden Rhodes was poisoned. So could you tell people that I passed away peacefully, with a beautiful nurse tending to my every need?
You're not dead yet. Please don't talk like that. You're scaring me.
No stammering.
But
I'm not saying it will happen immediately. But I am an old man, and one day you wake up and I'll be gone. This is about my own pride, not my son. The last thing I want is to go out with a black spot on my name. Tell me this. Tell me you'll do this, Giselle.
he's never said my name before. As you wish.
Thank you. You're a peculiar girl, you know. Sometimes you seem greener than the leaves in summer, and sometimes you see like you've seen 12 kinds of hell. And every so often you seem not of this world. Your skin is pale and your hands are as cold as ice. At one point I thought you might be Death himself. But I was wrong about that. You have too big a heart to be Death. You care too much. You must be carrying a very heavy cross on your back.
What am I supposed to do?
I don't want to lose you,
Oh, sorry, shit.
I don't want to lose you, Lord Hayden. I don't want to lose this life.
You have someone, don't you, young lady? Someone you're dying to meet again?
Yes, but I don't know anymore. I don't know how long I'm supposed to keep waiting. And if something doesn't happen soon, I don't think I can hold myself together much longer. I was so close to breaking down. And it was you who kept me on my feet.
I'm sure you've tried to remain strong plenty of times. So I'll give you some different advice. A trick for when you think you're losing a hold of yourself. Build a cocoon.
Cocoon?
A sturdy shell to keep your weak inner self safe. This world has no interest in protecting you. Only swallowing you whole. But you mustn't readily expose your true self. You build a cocoon, and you play the role you need to play. That way the real you will remain unharmed. It's not pleasant to hide yourself like that, but it's better than letting the world crush you. But a word of warning, if you spend too long in the cocoon, the real you is liable to disappear forever. You'll be swallowed up by your own protective shell. I hope you find whoever it is before it's too late. Now, I think I'll get some sleep. All this talking has worn me out.
As you wish. Good night, Master. And see you in the morning.
Hi, see you in the morning, young lady.
And the next day, Aiden was dead. He had strangled himself with his left hand. I should have been more attentive. I should have recognized how much pain he was in. How much it crushed him to have been betrayed by his own family. I should have realized how he truly felt, how fragile he really was. I fell into a hopeless gloom. I could hardly believe that the quiet life I had finally attained had been shattered in the blink of an eye. Hayden's other servants quickly went their own ways, and I vividly remember the dirty looks they all gave me. Everyone who knew how he had died assumed I had done it. I had no reason to kill him, though. But they had more than enough to believe so, for I had indeed been the last person to see him alive. And I held firmly to the story he had asked me to tell. While I was unable to convince the other servants, his family was far more accepting of the story that he had departed for the next world happily. Though that did not make the truth any less heartbreaking. Especially since I was the only one who knew it. Why does this always have to happen? I was happy. But I can never seem to keep hold of it for more than a flash. Despair always comes marching in to rip it away. What? What am I doing here? What kind of person were you, Michelle? What kind of person was I?
Oh, my dear, you look positively miserable. Why should you despair at the death of some strange old geezer?
Morgana. Was Hayden one of those whom you wish to be reconstructed?
Huh! I have no interest in that wrinkled bag of bones. And if he was one of them, do you really think I would have let him go so peacefully?
Peacefully? You call that peacefully? You call his misery peaceful?
I most certainly do. And since you do not seem to understand this, the pain of death lasts but an instant. The worst torture can only be inflicted upon the living. Setting two loved ones against each other, manipulating one into taking the other's life, and then forcing him to live with that. The stage hasn't even been set yet, my dear.
And you would have me play a part in that?
Indeed. You agreed to accompany me. You are here to be my guide. And you're doing a wonderful job of it so far.
I haven't done anything.
Oh, but you killed that old man, did you not? Thanks to you, my wish is one step closer to fruition.
What do you... What do you mean I killed Hayden?
You mean to claim that you didn't? Tell me, who was it that put the poisoned sugar in his tea?
No, I didn't mean to.
Your intentions are irrelevant. Everything moves along the path forged by a wish. And you shall continue to follow its will.
You know what? I'm done feeling like this. I don't want anyone else to go through what Hayden did.
And what are you going to do about it?
I'm done listening to you. Without me, you have no influence over this world.
Oh?
So I'll die. I'll take my own life right here and now. I grabbed a nearby knife and held the tip against my breast. My hands were shaking, my heart pounding. My whole body was racked with terror, but I could have sworn I heard Morgana gasp. And this was her one weakness, I thought.
What are you thinking? Don't do this, Giselle. Don't be foolish. Put the knife down right now.
I'm done. I'm done trusting anything you say.
Giselle, Put the knife down.
I've missed you so very much, Michelle. I've wanted nothing more than to see you again. But if my being Morgana's guide is going to cause other people suffering, then I can't. It's all over, Morgana. Huh. There's no blood. Not even pain. Why?
Absolutely brilliant. I told you not to be so foolish. But you just wouldn't listen to me. Such a silly girl.
I really am. I couldn't even die if I wanted to. Learning that absolutely crushed me. My backup plan, the one escape route I thought available to me, had been ripped away. My spirit crumbled, and I felt myself sinking into a vast darkness. I began losing my grip on myself. Which is when I recalled Hayden's advice and build a cocoon. It was the only option I had left, my final chance at protecting myself, although ultimately I was unsuccessful in that endeavor, as you know. But by that point, my mind and spirit had all but been lost. Eroded away by the years of solitude, the witch's whispers, the brief glimmer of happiness, and the eternal, boundless darkness it had left me in. It was in that moment that all light drained from my eyes. And it was in that moment that the maid was born.
Yes, now. Come over here. There's so many beautiful flowers.
Now, Nelly, there's no need to run. You're going to fall, and you can't say I didn't warn you.
I've never seen you before. Are you the new maid?
Good afternoon, Lady Nelly. That is correct. It is an honor to serve you.
Oh, did you do all this?
I did not. The garden was your grandfather and Lord Hayden's work.
Wow, is grandfather a wizard?
Perhaps he was. I'm sure he would be delighted to know you like it.
And did grandfather like flowers?
Yes, he loved them quite dearly.
Wow, I love flowers too. I've never seen a garden with so many pretty flowers. Did you know this kind of flower is called a rose? It's like our name.
Why, yes, they do sound alike. And like the flowers, you are also a very sweet little girl.
Hey, what's your favorite color of rose?
I like all colors.
But you don't like any the most? That's too bad. My favorite is pink. Pink roses are so pretty.
Indeed they are.
Jeez, there you are, Nelly. My apologies. Please don't mind my sister.
Oh, not at all. We were having the most wonderful time.
That's good. I imagine we'll be seeing each other around, so it's a pleasure to...
Dear smell, dear smell. Let's see what the inside's like. Mother says I have my very own room.
Slow down, Nelly. I beg your pardon.
The inseparable siblings ran off towards the mansion hand in hand. It was a heartwarming sight. But the next moment, when they stepped inside, I saw something else. The darkness enveloping the mansion seemed to flare up. The open door, a gaping maw into its hungry bowels. The whole house looked as though it was cackling. It was, I presume, in which Morgana's madness taking form, a manifestation of how she felt now that her centuries in the making wish was bearing fruit. Those two children were the ones Morgana had been waiting for. Had I still any willpower to fight left in me, I would have taken them by the hand and sent them somewhere far away. I would have done something before the house followed them up. But instead, I just gently lowered my eyes. Misfortune would surely sink its teeth into those two children before long. Pain and misery would befall them. I knew no good lay ahead for them, but my heart had all but frozen solid. I had my hands full taking care of myself. So I let Hayden's beloved grandchildren fall into the witch's hands. I was, for all intents and purposes, Morgana's marionette.
At long last, it has arrived. The time I have been waiting so long for has arrived. Darling, devoted Giselle, I know not how to describe for you the fiery excitement burning within me. Oh, I know. I can tell you my story. Tell you exactly what that mild-mannered little boy once did. You'll be open to listening now, won't you, my dear? And you'll surely understand that I am doing nothing wrong. Because you're my ally, my trusty servant. You and I, we live in the same world. We're as close as family. Are we not?
Yes, as you say.
So let us curse them. All of them. Let us inflict a pain worse than physical torture on them. Let us put their souls on the rack for all eternity. Curse them. Make them suffer. Curse them. Now, listen carefully, Giselle. This is a tale of wicked men, and my curse upon them.
The witch spat her curses for some time, the bile overflowing from her words, and the pure, unadulterated hatred brimming within, consumed me more than the horrifying things they described. She was brutally honest, each word a carefully sharpened blade of animosity. How much bitterness did you have to carry inside you to become like her? How long did you have to feel nothing but hatred to become like her? I felt like if I let my guard down, I would be consumed by her enmity. It would become mine, and I would grow to despise them myself. All the while, I kept my mind on one single thing. And that is, what was left of my mind, locked inside a shell of my own creation. It was that solitary truth that allowed me to hold on to my human emotions, to continue believing. I'm always waiting. My love will never fade. When I was still my old self, I would call them master and would do anything for them. Michelle. And that was their name. They were beautiful. They had pearly white hair and ruby eyes. They are going to come for me. Michelle, all I can remember about you is your name, your glassy white skin, your fiery red eyes, and your snow-colored hair. Nothing else. And that's why, when I saw her that night, dripping from the storm raging outside, I thought, you're finally here. Because I didn't remember enough to know any better. You already know who I speak of, don't you? The person who called upon Rose Manor that fated stormy night. The girl with almost translucently pale skin. Chillingly white hair and eyes like jewels. Ah, what a beautiful girl. Her hair, her eyes, her porcelain skin. It all matches the person in my memories. She must be the one I've been waiting for. If she is, is something the matter? No, I just thought I felt someone watching us. It's only your imagination, I'm sure. If not your imagination, then perhaps some unseen force was watching you. Unseen force. Are you familiar with how people refer to this mansion? Rose Manor. Yes, indeed. It is called Rose Manor because you can smell the sweet fragrance of the rose garden even at a great distance. But that is not what I meant. It is said that a witch resides within the house. A witch. I've not heard any such stories. You probably wouldn't have. It was a very, very long time ago. Nothing you need concern yourself with. You have a peculiar presence about you. Should I consider that a compliment? A peculiar presence, she says. Does she sense something in me as I do her? This has to be her then. Her name. I need to ask her name. It's getting late, and you should get some rest. A room has already been set aside for you. But first, may I ask you one thing? Yes? I do not believe you've given me your name yet. My name is Michelle. Ah, I knew it. You are the one. What? You are the one I've been waiting for. I have endured so much in anticipation of this moment. So that I could reunite with you. You came to this place to see me again, did you not? Held tight to those wonderful memories until you could make it back to me. I never gave up hope. I always believed, and I hope you'll praise me for that. And I ask you to please say my name. To please make me... I don't know anything about you. I'm sorry, you seem to be confusing me for someone else. We have never met before now. You jest. You are Michelle, are you not? That is my name, yes, but it's a fairly common name. Surely you're confusing me with... That cannot be. That white hair, white skin, those red eyes. And that name, the name of the Archangel. Everything about you is the same. How can you say that you are not my Michelle? Please, Michelle, remember for me. Stay away from me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be rude. You would reject me. I'm so sorry. I honestly don't know you. Do you care nothing anymore for the time we spent together? We have not spent any time together. you would deny everything. I'm sorry. I see. I see. So you feel nothing for me anymore? You do not need to say anything. I understand. You are feeling a great deal of disgust towards me. No, Or perhaps it is fear. Yes, you are always so kind. You would not easily allow yourself to succumb to hatred. I understand. Please forget everything I have said. Who are you? I am. I am but a simple maid, nothing more. Laughable, isn't it? I no longer recognize Michelle as anything more than a concept. Man or woman, elderly or infant, as long as they had white hair, red eyes, and the right name, they were you. I needed anything I could get. I was so desperate, the thought never even crossed my mind that she was not you. What do you think? Seeing me like this, that I'm helpless and hopeless. Listen to this, Morgana. Michelle is back. She's finally come for me. But she does not remember anything, it seems. Not me, not our past, nothing. She saw me and wasn't afraid, in fact. Are you listening, Morgana?
Ah, darling, devoted Giselle. You poor, pitiful soul. That must have been quite harrowing. But don't worry, you still have me. Besides, this might not be your only chance. As long as you continue on, Michelle could appear before you again.
Do you think she will remember me next time?
I can't say. That's up to Michelle. You do have another option, though. Forget Michelle yourself and seek out a new master. Someone who can be yours. Someone dedicated and faithful. Who needs you? Someone worthy of this mansion.
Someone who needs me.
That's right. Michelle didn't need you after all. It's all right. Don't worry. You have plenty of time.
Yes, yes, yes. It's raining again today. I kind of wonder what happened to him. After he fled from the mansion. Although, I suppose it doesn't matter much to me. The witch is surely watching him. This. Such a dreadful storm. It sounds like someone crying. I was, at that point, completely out of my mind. Broken. My smiles, frowns, and gas had all been placed with imitations. Shortly afterward, the flaxen-haired boy moved out of the house and went on to become a priest. The girl fell ill a few years later, her disease eventually taking her life. But the boy never once returned home. The Rhodes family crumbled. I couldn't bring myself to grieve for them, or to reflect on Hayden's sorrowful end. I simply waited for time to begin moving once more. Little remains to be said about my broken self. But as I stated before we began, this is the maid's tale. So I would like to take this opportunity to elaborate on events I was unable to show you before. That is, if you can bear listening to such a dismal, miserable story. I already told you of my meeting with the beast, so I will begin the second tale from here. After Bestia slaughtered the merchant who had showed up at the mansion, his mad laughter echoing through the halls.
Did you hear that? Did you hear his screams? He said I was a monster!
A mutilated body lay sprawled across the living room floor. As you can imagine, that was my first time ever seeing such a bloody, mangled corpse. I could not look directly at it, so I averted my eyes.
Hey, you saw it. I just proved that beasts are stronger than humans.
Indeed you did.
I know. I've got a great idea. You asked if I wanted to become the master, and I said I did. Which means you work for me. Isn't that right? So you'll do whatever I tell you to, won't you?
What would you have me do?
Chop up his arms and legs, and make a stew out of them. And don't you hesitate, or you'll end up like him.
Yes, master. He's trying to assert his total dominance over me. That is not proper behavior for the master. Although I am the one who offered him the role.
Do it.
He's an utterly mad beast. But am I really all that different? There's blood all over my hands. It sounds like someone's laughing. Is it him, or is it her? No matter what happens, it won't affect me. The cocoon is not the real me. I was looking down at what could only be described as a pile of human debris. I had done this. But that fact did not register with me. I felt nothing at all. Not regret, not anger, not sorrow or despair.
He said he traded in spices. That should give him a very unique flavor.
How am I supposed to work with this? I was quite simply puzzled. No one had ever made such a request of me in my hundreds of years at the mansion. That's all I was. Puzzled. But he interpreted it as hesitation or fear. So he grabbed me by the shoulder, knocked me to the floor, and skewered me with that curious blade of his. For the first few moments, he wore that deranged grin of his, but as the seconds passed, it slowly transformed into shock. Not a drop of blood spilled from my breast. In the instant he realized it, I saw revulsion in his eyes. Him, of all people. A man who cackled as he slaughtered others was disgusted by a mere maid. It was absurd. So much so, I almost wanted to cry. Is that all, Master? Are you not going to dismember me? You could try stabbing my face, or my neck, or my stomach, or any other part of me. Perhaps then I might die. Oh, now, don't look at me like I'm some sort of exotic creature.
Stop that. Quit laughing.
Why should I? My only distinctive feature is my smile. I have nothing else. My hands are covered in blood, but I can still smile. It's ridiculous.
I get it now. You're the witch, aren't you? I see. Only monsters ever had a place here. Every so often I hear a woman's voice in my head. That's you, isn't it? You're the witch!
Monster, witch, maid. What am I? Who is Giselle? Michelle said she was spirited, true to herself, that she often laughed and cried and shouted. But I don't know anyone like that. I'm just a maid. Nothing more than a servant. The woman's voice he had said he had heard was probably the real witch's. But I had no interest in that. I almost would have preferred not having to think about anything at all. Nothing would cause me to waver if my head was empty. A world without joy or sorrow sounds quite wonderful. But nothing ever went the way I planned. And for the white-haired girl, whom I thought I would never see again, appeared before me once more. I was quite nearly in a panic. Beneath my perfectly practiced smile was a veritable storm of emotions. A faint hope flared up within my shell. Perhaps this time, Michelle would remember me. But that hope was unsurprisingly in vain. Is someone there? Yes, I came by to ask if there was anything you needed. I cannot offer you anything extravagant, not like before, but I am here to provide you with anything within my capacity. I appreciate the offer, but I need nothing. Being allowed to stay the night is more than enough. Do you work here in the mansion? Yes, indeed I do. I've been here for a very, very long time. A very long time. You might think this an odd question, but have we met before? Something about you seems familiar. And I get the feeling I've been in this mansion before. Yes, we have met. It was quite some time ago, though. When was it? It was an unimaginably long time ago. Do you remember a boy and a girl with flaxen hair? Flaxen hair. I apologize. My memory fails me. Do you not remember me either? I was afraid of this. She doesn't remember anything this time either. But I will not be so pushy this time. I could not bear to be so blatantly rejected again. I see. You should probably not push yourself to remember then. There were joyous times, and there were less than joyous times. But would you be so kind as to answer one question? What might your name be? My name. My name is Michelle. White hair, red eyes, the name Michelle. Why must you continue to bring me pain? Why can you not set me free as you were supposed to? I see. So you are Michelle again. Again. You should get some rest. I will make tea for you in the morning. Also, go on, close your eyes. The white-haired girl lay so quietly in her bed, I could not tell whether she was asleep or awake. Even the sound of her breathing was too faint to hear. Standing over her, looking down at her, the locked-away despair and wails of lamentation, I thought to myself, no longer capable of I'm gonna start this over. The locked-away despair and wails of lamentation I thought myself no longer capable of came bubbling back to the surface. But can you honestly blame me? I've been waiting for Michelle for so long. She was the one thing holding me up. She was the only thing keeping my broken self from falling apart completely. Yet she claimed not to remember me. Did you pity her, having to go through tragedy after tragedy? But every time she showed up, she said she did not know me, bringing me more and more grief. I had been waiting for hundreds of years. Waiting for her for so long, my mind slipped away with every passing day, waiting and waiting and waiting. My apologies. I'll have to be careful or I'll slip back to what I was then. If you weren't holding my hand now, Tell me, you are Michelle, aren't you? That's a relief to hear. Yes, thank you. I'm alright. Do you think I'm as muddled as I feel? Let us return to the tale then. You don't know what it feels like. You don't know how much it hurts for someone you've waited so long for to say they don't know you. You have no idea how much it crushes me. Rather than feel like this anymore. Maybe I should just end it all with my own hands. I reached my hands out towards her slender neck. I was not an especially strong woman, but I thought even I would be able to suffocate her with relative ease. She was blind at that, so she wouldn't be able to run. However, that was the one thing I could not bring myself to do. I can't. I can't do it. I ran and I ran and I ran. Though I knew I had nowhere to run, plunging myself into the mansion's darkness. Did not want to be there any longer. I did not want to have anything to do with her. But being an inhuman inhabitant of the house, I could not close my eyes or plug my ears to what happened within its walls, as much as I may have wanted to. It didn't matter where I was. I had no say in the matter. I was forced to observe the events until their tragic conclusion. Twisted, bloody madness. And their wretched wails creating a whirlwind of misery. When it was all over, Morgana cackled like a little girl.
Go on, you have a laugh too, my dear. There's nothing in the world better than this. He was a beast through and through. And what a fool he was to think he could become human. Ah, I love it. He destroyed everything he had with his own hands. And then couldn't even manage to mourn for it. Quite the unfortunate fate, wouldn't you say? Go on, laugh with me. Laugh with me, my darling devoted Giselle.
Michelle is dead too, though.
You're worried about that tiny little detail? She'll show up again, of course. So you don't need to worry about a thing. You don't need to feel bad about any of this carnage. Rest easy, my darling devoted Giselle.
If you say so, then I shall not be concerned.
Yes, that's good. Laugh, laugh, my dear. Ah.
I apologize for making you listen to my dreadful stories for so long. You must be quite weary of them by now. But worry not, for this is the final one. And despite being the end, it's neither dramatic nor exciting. It was a single phrase, the most insignificant of things, that caused me to completely lose myself and forget I had, long ago, been the woman called Giselle. And there was no malice in it. It was but a simple greeting. Do you remember how, the first time she arrived, Michelle said I had a peculiar presence about me? She had felt something there between us. And the second time, she said something about me seemed familiar. She did not remember why, but her soul recognized the bonds we shared. So I assumed the next time she showed up, she would feel something even stronger. Or perhaps even have her memories. Despite being let down again and again, I still held on to the faintest glimmer of hope. But when she appeared, she was someone else's wife.
Hey, head maid, get out of here. Get over here.
I'm right here, sir. Is something the matter?
I figured you should get to know her as soon as possible, since I'll be spending a lot of time looking after her. Hey, get out here. Christ, there's not a goddamn confident bone in your body, is there?
I'm sorry, I'll be right out. Me. The first thing she said when she saw me was, "It's a pleasure to meet you." It's a pleasure to meet you. What had I spent all that time waiting for? It was all for naught. It was all meaningless. In this era, she felt nothing at all for me. In retrospect, it makes enough sense. But for me at the time, that was the end. Morgana. Morgana! Cast me into darkness. Make me a formless being like you. I don't want to be here another second. I don't want to look at her ever again. Morgana! Morgana! Please listen to me. I'm begging you.
Now, what's the matter, my dear? It's not like you to throw a tantrum.
I can't take it anymore. I can't do this.
Michelle again? Oh, you poor thing. Betrayed 3 times now.
Morgana.
You pitiful girl. Don't groan like you're having a bad dream, my dear. I am here for you.
Please, Morgana. Erase me from existence.
If you go away, then I will be all alone. And that would be absolutely dreadful.
But I...
Tell me, what torments you so, my dear?
What? Michelle, who I've been waiting on for so long, doesn't...
Oh, you poor thing. You've spent so long riding the currents of time that you've lost sight of yourself.
What?
You've convinced yourself that someone else's story is your own.
Someone else's.
Yes, indeed. It was such a beautifully tragic tale you fell in love with it. It resonated so deeply within you that you felt their pain as if it were your own.
What are you talking about?
I wanted to tell you, my dear, but you were so convinced it actually happened to you that I couldn't bring myself to take it away.
Then, what about Michelle?
She is not the one you are waiting for. And you are not hers either.
Then, what about Giselle?
That is not your name.
Then, who am I?
Who are you? That's a very silly question. You are this mansion's cursed witch.
I'm the witch.
That you are. You are both the maid and the witch.
But how?
Do you truly believe that someone who has eternal life, who doesn't bleed when they're cut, and who can smile no matter what happens to her, isn't a witch? How much of this Giselle's memories do you actually possess, my dear? How clearly can you remember her life? You can't, can you? You don't know what kind of story Giselle and Michelle wove. And you wouldn't, because you were merely an onlooker. Much like you are now, for this present tale. And by contrast, how much of the witch's story do you know? You should know it very well.
Yes, but that's because you...
No, my telling it to you is not the reason. The details are rooted deep within your memory.
Then I'm...
That's right. You are the cursed witch Morgana.
But you...
I am you. You split into two because you refused to accept who you were. Think about it. Have I ever shown myself to you? Have I ever shown myself to anybody? That's why.
I am. I am the witch.
That you are.
I see. It all makes sense now. Everything has fallen into place. There's one thing I still don't understand, though. The story I was so enamored with, Giselle and Michelle's story. What kind of story was it?
I would be glad to tell you. You look like you're ready to know the truth.
I believed every word she said. All my worries melted away like they were nothing. The sight of the white-haired girl no longer kicked up waves in my heart. In fact, I found myself wishing for her to find happiness. I was an observer, watching and hoping for the best. The tragedy that befell her did sadden me, but I felt bad for her like I would a character in a story. I bought your medicine, Master.
Thank you. Just set it down over there. Yes. What are you staring at?
My apologies. I was simply musing about how much time had passed. I can hardly believe it has been 40 years since you were a bright young businessman.
And you haven't aged a day.
Why, thank you. I am a witch, after all.
Well, I don't much care what you are. You could be the Grim Reaper for all I care. You still work harder than anyone else.
May I ask you a question, Master?
What is it?
Why have you not returned to your homeland? I thought it was a place quite dear to you.
I can't wait for her back there.
Do you still believe she will return? To a degree, I understand how difficult it can be to wait. Though for me, waiting now brings me more joy than pain. With your lifespan, Master, it will be the pain that wins out. Perhaps you should consider letting go.
Tell me, was her name really Michelle?
Why, yes, it most certainly was. But why would you ask such a thing? Have you forgotten your own wife's name? You have waited for so long that it would seem like me. Some part of you has begun to break down. You poor, poor man.
You know, you look a whole lot more pitiful than me.
Oh my.
There you are.
What has you in such a flurry, my dear? You're a noble servant. You must maintain your composure at all times.
Master,
What about him?
he was found deceased in his chambers. The doctor just came out. He said it was his ailment. It would seem the master knew this time was short, for he left a will, asking not to be given a funeral.
I see.
I feel kind of bad for him, though. Not only did he not have anyone to decide for his final moments, he didn't want to be sent off at all. Isn't that sad?
It is, for the best. And there's not a single soul left in this world left who could send him off. And with your era drawn to an end, this mansion will soon return to existing nowhere in this world. I wonder what the next one will look like. I wonder if misfortune will befall her once more. That would be quite regrettable. And perhaps if I could convince her of her tragic fate, she would be willing to disappear from this realm with me. And if she wishes to fight that fate, perhaps she will become my next master. Calling her master seems inappropriate, but I cannot think of a word that fits better. I eagerly await the next era. Please do not keep me waiting for long, Master. Yo, should we keep going? Yeah, okay. Let's...
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you had a good idea of how much time we had left for this, but yeah.
It's reaching 9 p.m.
We'll probably just, be ending and then going into whatever happens next, but like, yeah, I was
It's so funny how many of these fucking save slots are just
there's
blank.
black screen.
Actual gaslighter Morgana, unless she's for real, but it feels like gaslighting.
She's not for real. Michelle literally came out and said, what the fuck you talking about? You're not the fucking witch, I know the witch.
Wait, run it back. What did you say, Randy?
Bone said that maybe Morgana was telling the truth and wasn't gaslighting. No fucking way. Michelle came out and said, what the fuck are you talking about calling yourself a witch?
Yes, I know what gaslighting is. It's whenever you feel like whenever somebody's trying to convince you you're crazy. But no,
that's not what it means. What are you talking? That's not what it means. What are you talking
Randy,
about?
we're not doing this bit. Everybody does this bit.
Okay, alright, class, settle down. Let's get started one at a time. Zaz shot in the distance. Alright, Bone, go ahead.
Alright, let me quickly just scroll up. We didn't have that many notes for this one. So the witch mentioned she had a plan, or maybe, Giselle said the witch had a plan. I forget who said that the witch had a plan. But it seems like the witch has a plan. I don't think it mentioned what her plan was, so I'm very interested in that. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know what the witch's deal is. I don't know why she's going after these people.
Revenge, I think.
Why, though? What is the revenge over?
Her death.
Why would it be her death?
Probably those three guys in the previous 3 doors were the guys who killed her and did horrible things to her.
So they time traveled
years
to.
apart. Yeah.
I think we've exposited these ideas before.
I mean, unless she's from the future and went back in time.
Wait, what?
No,
that's the only way Crimson's idea makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
What?
No, those 3 guys were literally the people that tortured her and killed her, and then they appeared in those particular time frames, and she wanted to torture them.
So they time traveled.
No.
How?
Reincarnated.
Okay, reincarnation. That is an important word. Thank you, Crimson. So the other things. I'm just going through notes. Okay, the only other thing is actual gaslighting. Jesus Christ. Oh, Morgana is a shit. Fuck her. So many horrible people in this story. So many people that just want to hurt people. Alright, Michelle, go.
Michelle?
No, Shelly, go. Oh god, I just...
You gaslighted him!
I just realized how appropriate Shelly's name is.
And there we have it, folks.
Alright, Shelly, you're up.
Shelly could be a nickname for Michelle, but anyway, what I was going to
Wait,
say
friend, hold on. You're a little at a distance there.
Oh wait, actually, before Shelly goes, there was one thing else I wanted to say. I would like to thank Clinical Obsession for inspiring the word "me-sexual" in my head.
I would like to curse King Obsession and you for bringing that to my attention.
Bisexual purely for Michelle's.
What?
Fair and valid. Anywho. Shelly, go ahead. Maybe. You're closer to the mic.
Well.
Oh, is he having issues?
Oh no. Oh.
Hello?
Hello. Yes, we're good.
I had audio issues. This should work. Yes?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I actually agree with the idea that something horrible happened to the witch, and then she may have, like, found all the different possibilities of these people, and that's who each one of them are. Like, I actually forgot the name of the boy from part 1, but, like, part 2, Yukimasa... What?
Mel. For
Mel,
one.
right, yeah. So him, Yukimasa, and Yakupo are possibly all reincarnation or just different possible fate designs, or like you know the whims of fate for each for this one person who hurt her. That's my theory on that.
I'm thinking of 3 people, but that could be also possible.
Yeah, it could just be the one person that she wants to curse for all time. Therefore, she finds like their places in history and fucks with them.
Wasn't the sinner from the third door, Maria, chick?
I was also under the
what's his
impression.
face?
Then
Sorry,
why did you focus on Jacopo?
Sorry, I didn't mean
All about the
Yakupo, I meant Maria. That's my
All
bad.
the masters are cursed.
I mean, is that confirmed? I
mean, but if you think about it, even though Jacopo obviously brutally mistreated Maria, he then had to suffer with his guilt for 40 years. I think that's honestly worse of a crime. Or, like, worse of a punishment.
Yeah, she did say that living with the horrible crimes that they commit is much worse.
Yeah, so...
Maybe.
So I think that, I think Jacopo is the reincarnation that she's trying to fuck with in that era. At the end of the day, like, just living on spite is something I've seen in a bunch of other fiction, and it is interesting every time it happens, but at some point when you're eternal, it almost feels really petty not to be able to let anything go.
Oh wait, now that my brain cells have kicked in, so are you saying like each of the masters like is one person reincarnated into these people?
Yeah, that person who horribly murdered and or tortured the witch at some point.
Yeah, that's what I said before.
Was it?
Yeah.
I say it was 3 different people, but that could also be a possibility.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Work on his whims have a disaster effect on the economy.
Very funny. I get that one. But what do you guys think about my opinion on people who just literally people who are eternal who live on spite is something that I've seen a bunch of times, and it's always just like you have eternal life and you waste it on spite. It irritates me a bit. What do you think?
That's literally the devil in some aspects. That's literally been constant in most fictions in some forms of fashion on that.
I don't watch enough immortality-style characters in stories. I'm sure Overly Sarcastic Productions has done a great video on it. Almost certainly.
But yeah, it's a very common trope for a long time to have that particular type of vengeful spirit that's always that petty for multiple generations.
It's what keeps them going. Spite is powerful.
Yeah, it is.
It's the negative energy vibes, man. It's the delicious
Yeah, it makes you strong.
I know
delicious spite.
I know some stories with that, but I will not go into them because they are massive spoilers for those said properties.
Yeah,
Fair.
that's true. That's true.
Got anything else, Chelly?
Yeah, I think that's about it. Other than, man, the mate's life sucks.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
I actually
Josh,
did have one other thing. I apologize for
No,
cutting
go
you off.
ahead.
I just remembered it. I am curious in this sort of immortality where stabbing someone doesn't take. I wonder if you just went like full vampire rules on it and like chopped her head off, if she would just, continue enduring, or if she would like reform. Or what
May
do you
I
think
ask
would
a
happen?
question?
What vampire rule is that?
May I ask a question?
Like one of the.
That's zombie rules, man.
Now, to go into what Shelly said, I would like to ask a question of how exactly did it say she was affected? Did it even hurt her at all? Did it affect her skin at all, or did it just not do anything whenever she got attacked?
She got stabbed and no blood came out.
Yeah, she didn't feel anything either. That studied it.
Okay, so it just seems like she doesn't have any sort of form, like corporeal form. I mean, she can be touched, but it seems like whenever danger happens, her corporeal form doesn't matter.
Yeah, and there are some stories that the only way to kill a vampire is to chop its head off, because every single possible way you can think of that is like a very sure death is a way to kill a vampire in some myth. It's not just zombies, man.
Hey, would we be alright moving on to the next Fata Morgana related bit?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
It's kind of stupid.
Con, your move.
No, Joshy.
Oh, right. Holy shit. Whoa, I completely...
Holy
I'm
fuck.
sorry. Okay.
This is why I run the classroom.
It was the proximity to... I saw you muted and I figured you weren't here. My mistake. Joshua, please go.
Yes, I
Are
usually
you sure
try to
you're
keep my
okay,
mic.
Orange?
I'm
just tired.
fine. I'm a mixture of
You
things,
sound
but
like you're
anyways.
tired.
Yeah, let Joshy go!
Ow.
Ow, shut up, you. Anyways.
Sorry, I didn't know how loud I was. I was just afraid of it going on too long.
Anyways, Joshy.
Not bad.
Yes, it is fascinating because I think I had me and Rindy had talked about like a theory that I don't know if it was which one of us posited first, which was, maybe the stories were in fact tales that kind of relate back to the relationship of Michelle and the maid. However, or I guess I should say Giselle now, sorry. And that is that it turns out apparently not. Apparently perhaps that she is... It is really weird because it's like, what do I do? To think ahead, I can't really make like a judgment of where the story's going, other than maybe with what Shelly and others said. I think, okay, yeah, you. Is that, what was it? Perhaps what is it? Mel, Yukimasa, and all the previous, I guess, masters are all reincarnated beings from maybe that scene we saw of the 3 people in the cell going, "Oh man, we didn't mean to kill her, we swear."
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's it, but like that's only like a small thought in my mind. Other than that, boy, if the witch is real, boy, yeah, that is not great for Giselle. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have to add.
Alright. We're skipping over Roboot again, so Khan, it is your go.
Awesome. First off, I did not see Hayden. I want to call him Handel for some reason. Fuck.
Hayden, yeah.
Hayden.
Yeah, I know. For some reason, I thought the tea leaves were poison, not the sugar. And that just made me think, why would his own son want to go ahead and poison him? Could be for money, but then I remember earlier he slipped and he almost had his third grandchild. So that made me think, maybe his son wants to poison him to shut him up about the affair that his wife had with the painter.
That could be one of the reasons. Or it could be just the money and that.
Yeah, it could be a little column A, little column B, maybe. But the grandfather let that slip, so he fucking knew.
Yeah, third. There's always little hints, man, that could have solved everything, but unfortunately, her mind just was slipping at that point.
Anyways, we're gonna let Khan continue.
Sorry about that. At least when it comes down to it, this is probably the most tragic tale in all of this. Giselle waits for over hundreds of years just to be with Michelle again. And just to be gaslit and overwritten with a new persona by not only herself, but by a witch. Who's only whispering sweet nothings into her ear. She's just losing herself in the madness and rotting decay just as the old house that stands in the woods.
Any other thoughts?
I didn't think that Mel actually became a priest, but it is interesting to see that that's what happened to him. It's also interesting to see that Jacopo actually lived for another 40 years after his wife disappeared and after Maria died and everything. Just, he has to live with, just the fact that he has to live with his mistakes instead of, no, you don't get a clean pop after this one, pal. You are just gonna live with this shit.
I was enjoying the piano music.
Now you get to enjoy the Tetris music.
At that point,
No, we
for
gotta do
Giselle,
Tetris music.
just that point for Giselle to just become the persona of this witch. I mean, what's coming up next is probably just her finding Michelle's original soul and trying to get him to remember everything through some sort of subconscious means.
By telling the stories?
Which means we've officially come full circle. So I'm thinking that the next thing will be shown is either the witch's actual story or some sort of fight against Morgana. Of course, that's just my idea.
Wait, Orange, you know you're in the 14 chat, right?
Oh yeah, I know.
Oh,
Okay.
that
Alright, sorry about that. Any other thoughts, Colin?
I think it's very interesting that every time Michelle is reincarnated into this new body, the memories are actually beginning to stick. I mean, not all together stick, but stick enough to where there's at least some parts of it embedded on her soul.
It does make an interesting idea of she's gaining more memories and the maid was losing them.
Which makes for some more tragedy. Also, full disclosure, I love being Morgana!
Glad you're enjoying it. I'm so sad I had to get out. It's fine. You're doing great. You're doing amazing.
Really? Oh my god.
Listen. This is the one time. This is the one time I was like, "Damn, I gotta give up something." I felt like Orange, even Echo. Anyways, back on topic though.
I love being a bitch.
If I could do it again, I would have taken Zepar and ran, and you couldn't have stopped me.
Con, you like being a bitch because in real life you're so sweet. So you want to feel bad at times.
I'm not sweet, damn it!
Right.
You are.
Alright. Bring it down.
Let's not talk about the real world. Let's talk about other world.
Okay.
Fuck.
Can we move on to Rindy? Or you had anything else, Con?
Nope, I got nothing.
Alright, Renders, you're up.
Rindy, go.
Let's see. I do think Yeah, that all three of them being reincarnations of people who originally did something to the witch does make sense to me. Especially since Mel had that dream that one time. I also think... fuck, I had another thing. So like... Michelle, like, the white-haired girl, Michelle, keeps getting reconstructed the same way, which is what was originally promised by the witch that she would do to Michelle Linier. So that also, and I don't think, like, she doesn't, the witch doesn't appear to have any actual connection to the white-haired girl. So I do think her being reconstructed the same way every time is still connected to that part specifically. That's pretty much it, I guess. Not much to say this time.
Yeah, we're still trying to understand what happened to that portrait that had the eyes blotted out, that Michelle kind of ripped out.
I have my theory, but it's something I've already gone over, so...
My turn then.
It is your turn, Sam. Go ahead.
What was the exact wording on Morgana's explanation of how Michelle was going to be reincarnated?
She said that she would wish for Michelle's reconstruction, that they would be in the same soul, same body, same, like, literal same.
Okay.
She did not promise memories, did she?
I don't think...
Yeah, they talked about that.
I'm trying to remember.
They had a whole conversation about, like, oh, but he's not gonna have the same memories, and she's like, oh, no, you will.
You will?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the difference between... That was their difference between reincarnation and reconstruction, so they're supposed to be exact same memories, body, all of it.
Okay, that's what I was trying to remember.
Interesting.
That makes it suspicious that Michelle is like that in the last the first 3 doors.
I'm wondering...
She never said when.
Yeah,
wondering what Mel possibly could have done that was so horrible for that to happen. Because she seemed to be okay with it after it got explained to her. Other than that, I guess... I don't know, I noticed that apparently the Switch version of this game is called Dreams of the Revenants Edition in the Twitch category.
I also noticed that.
Which is kind of interesting.
Sure is.
The Revenant is a dead body that's come back to life.
Dreams of the
normally
Revenant?
in the context of revenge.
Oh yeah, there's also a French origin of that.
Revenant. Yeah, that makes sense.
Revenant.
It's just something I noticed. It's kind of neat.
That was the old-timey zombie before
Kind of
the word zombie came
interesting.
up.
Something to think about.
I thought a revenant was like a ghost.
I don't really have anything much more.
It's sort of like a zombie ghost.
Okay, and Crimson.
Ghost.
Okay, if that just means that it's just a corpse being repossessed by the
About
zombie.
the thing, please.
Oh, sorry about that. Well, generally everyone else said what I was basically gonna say, but I'm thinking it might be a new story that's gonna come up after this particular part, like another door or something, like another chapter, because, well, we don't know what actually happened to this quote-unquote Michelle that just came from the very beginning of the story that ended up into the purgatory-like mansion up to that point. So it could be that we're having another door story coming up soon. Or it could be some final end thing story, but I don't know. That's pretty much it. Did you hear me?
Yeah, we heard you.
We did see. Yeah.
So I'm just interested if there's going to be another door. And what type of door will it be? Maybe in the future, 2000s? Who knows?
Personally, I hope it's a French door. Those are nice. They let in a lot of natural light.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want one of those sliding doors. Those seem fun.
Actually, I have a sliding door in my house.
What about one with a glass knob made of mahogany?
Oh yeah, I do have another thing.
Oh,
I think maybe Hayden was the man in the painting. Maybe. because because there's no like we didn't see anyone else it could be. It could be just like another unnamed resident that was at one point that we just skip their story. But yeah, the personality seems to fit, and the motive, he did seem to have like Giselle's best motives in mind.
I'd have
Wait,
to.
what happened to that guy in the Black Mirror thing?
The mirror, it was where Michelle's original story teaser was.
No, the black painting I meant.
That's exactly like we don't know anything.
I'd have to go back and rewatch that bit, but I feel like the painting guy's speech patterns were super different from the way
Maybe
talked, the other guy talked.
The personalities seem to fit for them, I think? I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, I'd have to rewatch it.
Okay, is that it then? Are we good?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool beans.
Alright, that will be all my fellow me-sexuals.
No!
I'm trying to make this
my dude, you're just bisexual. It's okay. It's okay to be bisexual. You don't need to be.
Bisexual is now the word, just like Beatrice.
No!
Oh, okay, see, I'm out of here. Meet you on the shadow government. Goodbye, good night.
No more.
Okay, yeah. Bye bye me!
Bye.
Yeah.